This podcast was created on Messy. Create your own show today at messy.fm.
Welcome to episode 5 of the Future is Bilingual podcast. I'm here today with my first guest, Emily, who is a bilingual native. She was raised bilingually. She's a college graduate, and she's here to tell us all about her journey. So welcome, Emily.
Hi, thank you for having me.
No problem. So we're going to start with the introduction. So if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, what you do, just anything you'd like to say about your life.
Yeah, sure. So I was raised by Egyptian immigrants. So my second language would be Arabic. But I feel like it wasn't really intentional. I know my parents had like a lot of confusion as to whether I would learn English properly in schools, if they were speaking Arabic at home, especially because they had just immigrated. So, so it sort of just happened, I would say, because, you know, that's how they're talking to each other.
Right.
So
you speak Arabic and English.
Yes.
Was your first language Arabic, or was it more English? What would you say?
Yeah, so I think when I was...
And do you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah.
Because that's important.
Yeah, so I have an older brother. And so I think that by the time my parents got to me, they had like a little bit more footing on what they wanted to do with our sort of language learning. I would probably say that my first language is English because it is stronger than my Arabic language skills. But I think that at home when I was a kid, my parents primarily spoke Arabic, especially because we also have a very strong church community that's primarily Arabic speaking.
That's great.
So whenever we would go to church, which was every weekend, and whenever we would hang out with family friends, all of the parent generation was primarily speaking Arabic, and a good 50 to 75% of the mass was done in Arabic and also the Coptic language, which is a dead language now, so irrelevant.
Still, yeah, so you've had some exposure to that as well.
Yeah.
So you were in lots of different spheres where people were speaking Arabic. Were like kids and youth also speaking it, or was it just mostly adults?
Yeah, I would say now as young adults, I have more friends who are Arabic speaking than when I was a kid because, I don't know, I found that when we were just the kids hanging out together, we would just resort right to English. Yeah. But because I have cousins and aunts and like my grandmother before she passed away also lived in Egypt, when I would speak to people of that generation, or like my cousins who live in Egypt, that was pretty much the only young people I'd speak Arabic to. But I think now as young adults, we like to use Arabic in sort of humor.
Well, you know your capabilities now. Like, I can use this. You have more choice. You have more knowledge about it and care probably as well.
Exactly. And also I think when you're a kid, it's not as like, I don't know, to me, I never felt like it was cool that I spoke Arabic. I felt like it was more of something that I wanted to hide from the other kids.
It made you different, yeah.
Yeah, especially because I remember a lot in elementary school kids would make fun of me because my parents were Middle Eastern. Oh, yeah. And they'd be like, do your parents even speak English? And I'd be like, yeah. So I also grew up in a very, like, predominantly white community. So it was really weird that my parents were immigrant. There was only one other girl in my grade who was a child of immigrants in my elementary school. And she was a child of Hispanic parents. And so one Puerto Rican parent, one Cuban parent. And so we became really good friends because I feel like we bonded over that.
Yeah, you had a shared experience.
Yeah. As we grew up, there was more like South Asian kids who moved to the community. But there was still no Middle Eastern kids. So I think that was a little bit hard for me as a kid, that I would be like, oh yeah, it's cool that I'm Egyptian. Like, people like to be like, oh, the pyramids.
Yeah.
But then being Middle Eastern wasn't really a very hot thing to be in the early 2000s.
Right. Yeah.
So late 90s, people were like, ooh, don't really like you.
Right. I'm forgetting that's when you grew up.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't think it was something I was particularly proud of as a kid.
But now you would say that's different.
Oh, definitely. Now I'm like, I don't care about you guys.
Yeah.
I'm cool.
Yeah, it's such a gift. How can I go back to your parents? How was their English? Was it like okay when they first came, or did they have to learn a lot?
They were pretty good. I mean, so my parents are both professionals. So my dad was doing his medical equivalency to become a licensed physician here. He was a radiologist in Egypt. And my mom likewise was doing her pharmaceutical equivalency. So, I mean, they've always been proficient in English. They've obviously improved since they first came, because then it was their like second language, but now it's sort of their working language. Obviously,
it's the primary.
It's their primary language. Obviously, they're still native Arabic speakers. But my mom also grew up going to a German school, so she was raised learning German, French, English, and Arabic.
A proficient polyglot.
Exactly. So she was fluent in German and Arabic, and I would say English. I mean, I don't really remember, to be honest.
Not to mention, you speak Egyptian dialect.
Yes.
Did they also teach you to speak classical
Fusha?
Yeah.
Modern standard Arabic?
The modern standard? Or...
Yeah. No. So that's
a whole
nother beast. And we actually make a lot of jokes because the Bible in our church is read in modern standard Arabic.
Okay.
And me and all my friends make jokes that we're like, we just zone out once they start reading the Bible, because it's like, okay, there's a word I know, and then there's a word I don't know.
Like in total, you don't understand it. It's like another language. Is it that different?
There's like maybe 60% comprehension.
Okay.
So it's not a completely different language, but it's not like I was raised in Egypt and I like learned Arabic in schools so that I should be able to read this. And now that I've actually spent a good amount of time, I usually visit Egypt twice a year. What am I saying? Once every 2 years with my family.
Would be nice, twice a year.
Yeah.
Once every 2, that's great.
Yeah, so...
Since forever? Or is that...
We took like a 7-year-ish break at the time of the revolution in Egypt.
Yeah.
And...
What was that, 2011? Yeah, I was in France then.
Yeah, so it was actually, I think, 2008 was the last time we had gone before that happened. And then we returned in 2014. But we would always go for like 2 weeks max. So it wasn't really a ton of time for me to get a full picture of what the culture around language is.
You probably just got comfortable when you guys were leaving.
Exactly.
Oh, now I can do this. Okay, time to go back.
Exactly. But as you know, I just spent a little over 2 months there. And I learned that, Arabic is the hardest subject in school for most of the youth, because it's a very hard language. And, the grammar is specifically very difficult. And then the way that they teach it is like using the Quran, and then also like poetry.
Not easy text.
Exactly.
I studied a little Arabic in 2011 in France when all the craziness was happening. But I remember plurals, a lesson on plurals. And I was like, why are there so many endings? There's just, it's a crazy language.
It's really, really tough to learn. And so there's a good portion of Egypt that is illiterate. I mean, which is a whole nother problem.
Right.
But Egyptian dialect is actually the most well understood dialect in the Middle East.
Well, thanks to films too. People love that.
Exactly.
The culture is just out there more than other, I feel like.
Exactly. Film and music and literature.
Is it closer also, though, or is it just that there's so much?
Oh, no, it's not closer at all.
Okay. It's just that there's so much media produced by Egypt. Okay.
Exactly. I think Saudi Arabia is probably the closest to Fusha. I don't know. That's what it's called.
Modern standard.
That's modern standard Arabic. But yeah, it's been interesting actually as well for me, because I was actually president of our Arabic Cultural Association.
I saw that.
At my university, and I met Arabs from all over the region, which was really great for me because, like I was saying, I didn't have any Middle Eastern friends outside of my church community before.
So from your little elementary self to your college self, you really expanded that a lot.
Exactly.
Being the only one to being the president. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so I learned a lot of Arabic in college, actually.
Yeah, probably.
Because like
different dialects?
Yes.
I remember that as well. This country says this, even like a word like whale. They were like, well, this country says this, Morocco says. I was like, oh, God.
Oh, Morocco?
Morocco's,
I was in Morocco for literally a day. And everyone thought I was Moroccan because I guess I look Moroccan. Yeah. And they would speak to me and I would literally be like, what? So French. Then they would flip. Exactly. So they would speak French to me and I would respond in Arabic. And that's how we functioned. That's because amazing. I would maybe have a sentence in French, but then to, communicate a more complex thought, I was like, I'm just going to say something in Arabic and see if they understand.
French comprehension is enough to...
Yes.
So full disclosure, Emily was my French student when she was a high school student.
She's a great French teacher, everyone.
So we should disclose. Yeah. So while we're on the subject, how many languages do you know?
Does Coptic count?
Sure.
I guess 4 then.
Okay.
But
English?
Coptic, again, is dead.
Well, so you studied English, obviously.
Yes. Arabic.
Arabic. Did you study ever?
No. I've self-taught a little bit.
Okay.
But at my university, one Arabic class was 6 credits. Oh, wow. So I was a double major and there was no time.
There was no time.
Yeah.
So English, Arabic, French, and Coptic.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, not as good as some people, I would say.
Oh, you can't compare.
Yes. But yeah, Arabic is a great language to learn. Very useful.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And how many countries? It's like 21 or something.
Yes.
It's definitely 20 plus countries that speak it. Yes. But as you've heard from us, there's a big variety. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Can you speak a little bit more about, you mentioned briefly that you have family and you had church community. Just maybe like what a typical day was like when you were growing up. Like how much would you have used it? Weekends might have been different with church, but maybe on a weekday, how much Arabic would you have used?
Yeah.
Or even in a present day, how much are you using Arabic versus English?
Yeah. So I would say when I was growing up, I would use Arabic mostly at home. Like, so on a weekday, maybe in the morning before I left for school, it was sort of like a mix of Arabic and English, even even if my mom would like speak to me in Arabic, I could respond in English or I could respond in Arabic and I wouldn't even notice.
From sentence to sentence.
Yeah. And she could say something in Arabic or English and it wouldn't really matter. But definitely in more like emotional settings, like if she's telling me to hurry up or that I need to do well today, it's definitely Arabic.
That you would speak back?
Oh, that she would speak. She would speak. And then I would probably respond in Arabic because I don't know why I feel like I have more license to be rude in Arabic. Okay. It's like, it's not as like, it doesn't have, I don't know.
Or maybe it just feels more equal. Like she's speaking to you in Arabic, so you can, if she's barking to you, like, yalla, yalla, you can bark back in Arabic.
Exactly. I'm like, Mishi! Yeah. So like, yeah. And I think as well,
it's funny how people who are bilingual, just to interject, they don't even notice like what language was just spoken to them. Because I know I've asked people like, well, did they say it in this language or that? Like, I don't know. I didn't notice. I just understood it. And I think that is such an interesting thing for a bilingual. And you've always been bilingual.
Yeah.
Being raised here by immigrants. So it's such an interesting concept.
Yeah. It's really weird too, because like going back to the average day, let's say I would go home. My parents worked like all the time. So we would go to like an after school situation. So let's say my mom was picking me and a friend up. I wouldn't notice if my mom would like make a significant effort to speak in English if a friend was there. But sometimes like something slips in Arabic or something. We would get home, my friend would say to me, oh, like what was she saying? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Right. Did you not hear what she was saying? And I'm like, no, she like didn't say that in English. And I feel like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's hard for you to remember what part.
Exactly. I'm like, what part didn't you hear?
Yeah, I do that to my husband all the time. I'm like, what did your mom just say? He's like, which part?
Yeah, it's hard to follow if you're just paying attention to what they're saying. Yeah. So I would say that I was always sort of a mix of the two. But on weekends, I think that was definitely when most of my Arabic learning happened.
Full on.
Yeah, because we would go to church and then after that, there's like, okay, our mass is like 4 hours already. So that's like 4 hours of Arabic. And then we're all going to like eat breakfast. And now that my parents have peers who are fluent in Arabic, it's like, okay, we're speaking in Arabic now. So listening to them talk and wanting to pick up what's going on. Yeah. Obviously, I think a kid's brain is very curious and they're like, okay, what's happening? Yeah.
Especially if you hear your name dropped, you're like, what did they say about me?
Exactly. And then going out to dinner or like going to someone's house on the weekends. And I would always go to camps in the summer with our like neighbors who, well, they're not really neighbors. They live like 20 minutes away, but that was Egyptian neighbors close enough.
Egyptian neighbors, okay.
I would always go to camps with like their daughters.
Okay.
So in the summer too, it was like, okay, like tons, which means like auntie. This is like going to pick me up, and hearing our parents like speaking back and forth, like planning, and then being at their house with their grandparents. So yeah, I would say that sort of in the non-school times,
it was all there.
It was pretty much like, yeah, it was pretty much just like naturally Arabic.
How about like things you consumed? Like was TV in Arabic ever, or did your parents just have standard cable here?
Oh, no. So we had like a dish, which actually ended up getting struck by lightning and ruining the electronics in our home.
Oh, no.
So thank you, Arabic television. But yeah, my dad loves like Arabic film and literature.
Yeah. Well,
so
the Arabs invested that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So especially the Egyptians, gotta shout out Egypt. Yes. So I used to watch a lot of Egyptian movies with my dad as a kid. So it's even funny now when I was just in Egypt, I would say phrases that I picked up from my dad and I guess from film. And
were they kind of old?
They were kind of old. Or they would be like really famous phrases from like movies that my friends would be like, what? Like how would you know that? And it's like, oh, I like watched this movie with my dad. And they would be so surprised that we like shared that in common, even though I was raised here.
So it's almost like trying to think of an English example, like nobody puts baby in the corner. Like if you like came out with one of those, like a foreigner, I'd be like, what? How do you know that? You know, okay.
Yeah, exactly. So there's some very quintessential Egyptian films that are like really funny and just, I think, really important to the culture that I really don't even think it was intentional. It was just my dad. He liked them. And that's how I would spend time with my dad. Like he would work all day at the hospital and then he would come home.
Just want to sit down.
Exactly. So he would be like, come sit next to me. Aww. So I would just like sit and like watch these movies. And the same thing when my grandmother would come stay with us, my dad's mother.
From Egypt?
So my mom's mother actually lived in Egypt, but my dad's mother immigrated to Canada with my dad's sister, like maybe 10 years after my dad's sister immigrated to Canada. Yeah. So she would come spend a few months at our house to like see me and my brother. Yeah. And so she would like literally 24/7. It's like the Coptic television. This is not Egyptian film. This is like they're like replaying sermons. Like, so I think that's how I learned a lot of like religious language, because it's a lot more formal and not really something that I feel like I could pick up if I just heard it once a week.
So that was every day when she was there.
Oh, yes. And now when we visit her, it's like just background music. It's just like what's
Must
on.
Be calming for her, yeah.
Yeah. It's just this Coptic television. So yeah, I think television definitely was very important for
And you
for
get,
us.
and I mean, not even just language, but you got so much culture from it. So
Yes.
I think that's so amazing.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're enjoying my interview with Emily. I just wanted to take a few quick seconds to say that I'm always looking for more guests to interview. So if you are bilingual and were either raised bilingually, are raising children bilingually, or maybe both of those situations apply to you, and you would like to be on my podcast, please reach out. You can contact me by email at tfibpodcast. So that's tfibpodcast @gmail.com, which of course stands for The Future is Bilingual Podcast. You can also find me on Instagram at The Future is Bilingual, no spaces or underscores. And I hope to hear from some of you soon and maybe have your voices on the podcast. Thank you. And back to the interview.
Okay, so we're back. I wanted to, before we move on, ask you about your brother, because you said you spoke a lot of Arabic during the day with your parents and with your community. But for a lot of parents, when they have siblings and one of those siblings goes to school, it's very, the community language, which is English, has a big influence, and the kids will start speaking English to each other. You mentioned sometimes speaking English back to your parents.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just wondering what that relationship was like, how much older your brother is, just a little bit of that information.
Yeah, so my brother is 3 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably think, like, I wasn't there, or I was there, but not conscious.
Right.
I don't remember, basically, is the bottom line. I think they probably spoke more Arabic to my brother than they did to me when I was a baby or growing up, just because obviously it was much sooner after they had just immigrated. Yeah. And a lot more family actually came when my brother was born than me. So, like, I guess I'm not important. It's fine.
Second baby.
Yes, we have bitterness. But it's okay. My brother got to mess everything up, and now I get to do it perfectly the first time.
I'm the second child as well, so it was good to be the second.
Yes, so I guess that has its benefits and drawbacks. But, yeah, so we actually typically will speak English to each other, except in, like, public settings where we want, like, a secret language. We'll, like, speak Arabic to one another. And also now, like I was saying, with, like, jokes and, like, cultural things, or for, like, quoting our parents.
Oh, yeah. You have to the original.
Exactly. There's just a different meaning. Like, it just won't translate correctly.
Yeah. And jokes, for sure, they're not the same. It's really hard to translate a joke.
Exactly. So I think, though, otherwise we both, like, if we're giving each other advice or telling one another about our day, we definitely just, like, resort to English. Whereas if we were with our parents, it could really, like, find itself in a mix, just because one of our parents might just start saying something in Arabic, so we'll just find ourselves sort of there.
It kind of triggers your brain to start thinking in Arabic more too.
Exactly. So I think that I don't honestly really remember when we were kids, like, what we were, like, if we were speaking Arabic with one another. I, like, have a hard time believing that, though, because I feel like a lot of our communication was, like, pretty antagonistic when we were, like, in elementary school, just because, like, we were at that age where, like, we were just, like, messing with each other a lot. Well, mostly he was messing with me. I was pretty nice to him.
As the older brother, probably.
Yeah.
For sure.
I imagine that maybe when we were, like, toddlers or something, we were probably saying some stuff in Arabic.
Because toddlers just repeat what they hear their parents say.
Exactly.
So for sure. I'm sure you're playing out those roles.
Yes.
That's funny. You should see if your parents have any video footage.
Yes. But now my cousins, at first, when I first went for my 2-month trip to Egypt, at the beginning, they're like, oh, we feel like your brother might be better at Arabic. And I was like, okay, rude. But, like, that's probably because, like I was saying, he was just, like, more exposed to it at a younger age. But then by the end of the trip, they're like, nah, you're good. And I was like, okay, thank you, everyone.
They were just trying to test you or force you, or, like, give you a little challenge.
They knew I would rise to the occasion.
That might also be, like, an Arabic speaker thing. Because I had a friend that was like, let's test, like, he kept, like, making me, like, go into the store and, like, practice your French. And I was like, why? Why should I? Like, giving me, like, language tests.
Yeah.
See if you can order this thing with, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, not to generalize, but I'll just speak to Egyptians. They're, like, very, I would just say, like, maybe a little bit, like, haughty about Arabic in it being, like, a challenging language, especially with, like, English speakers.
Yeah.
So they'll be like, oh, like, you speak Arabic? Oh, well, like, you speak English? Well, I speak Arabic, so. But it was actually people were really nice about it. Like, when I would go out with my family friends, and I would meet their friends, like, out at dinner, or if we were, like, going to hang out somewhere, people would always be like, oh, wow, like, you're American, but you, like, speak Arabic? Like, good for you. Like, people were actually, like, a lot more encouraging, that it made me feel, like, more confident to speak Arabic with them than, you know, there was definitely moments where I just, like, wanted to be like, I feel like this is a very complex thought, and I'm going to say it, and they're going to be like, that was wrong.
Yeah, no, you get into some language where you're like, you overthink it. You're like, well, how do you form that verb?
Yeah.
How do I form this idea? Yeah, it can get overwhelming. Yeah. Did you speak mostly Arabic, half and half when you were over there?
Yeah, so mostly Arabic.
That's great.
Basically because there was, like, a month of it where I was on a service trip where I was like basically running a camp for local children in like this rural village, and they were not going to speak English with me. And there was a lot of moments where I was just like alone with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, Emily, it's time to communicate.
You can do this.
And they even have a different dialect than Northern Egypt and Southern Egypt. So they understood me completely, but there were some pronunciations where I was like, okay, I'm going to like take a leap of faith and say that that's what they're trying to say. And
context helps.
Yeah, exactly. So it ended up working out, and my Arabic improved like tremendously when I was with them. And it was actually really funny because sometimes they would like make fun of me for like 2 seconds, and then like another English speaker would walk in and I would say something in English, and then they would be like, no, don't speak English. We were just kidding. Please speak Arabic again.
That's so funny. That's cute.
So I would be like, okay, guys, like, don't make fun of me.
Some of my best moments of learning French were from the kids that I taught. Because I remember, making them laugh about things I would say. Some very memorable ones. Like I said le météo for weather and not la météo. Because météo sounded masculine to me and they all laughed. And I also said, asseyez-vous dans les chaises. Sit in your seat, as we say in English, and they say sit on your seat. Sur les chaises.
Oh, okay.
So they were just laughing because in the chair is like in the material, so that just sounded hilarious to their little 6-year-old ears. So they just laughed.
That sounds like a
sentence.
sentence.
Yeah,
good job, madame.
Oh my god! So I like those stuck in my memory because those kids mocked me so much.
Yeah.
So it's not bad to make errors.
Yeah, especially when kids are correcting you.
Yeah, and then there's no. Yeah. They don't care. They're just like, no, you say it like this.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yes.
It's not as embarrassing as saying it to an adult or something. So,
yeah.
I
learned like very basic words that I didn't know how to say. Like I would be like, form a circle. And then I'd be like, I don't think I know how to say circle. So I'd just be like, I'd be saying form, and then I'd be going like this, and one of the kids just said circle, and I was like, oh. So I was like, okay, now I know circle, which is daira, everyone who wants to know what a circle is in Arabic.
Yes, but I'm going through that hardcore with my kids. So he's learning, almost entering preschool. So I'm like, he needs to know shapes. And I'm like, I don't know how to say rectangle in Polish. And so I had to learn all those, crazy words that you don't really use that often.
Yeah.
Circle being one of them. Just before we end, do you have a proud bilingual moment or an event or a tradition, something that you were able to do because you are an Arabic speaker?
I guess the thing that would come to mind is that during that trip I was serving with Coptic kids. So it made me feel like, I don't know, it was just like a really special experience to feel like I could connect with these kids who live like 6,000 miles away over like our sort of Coptic like religion together, and that we had so many shared experiences because of that. Like going to the 4-hour mass and feeling like I was just like in my home church, even though I was like in a rural village in Egypt, was just like really sort of a spectacular feeling. It was like, oh wow, like this is the same thing that I do at home.
And the kids are another generation, which is kind of hard to sometimes to have a common thread with them. I don't know. Sometimes it feels like, we're not the same.
Exactly. And like praying with them, like even doing the Our Father prayer, like I was teaching it to them in English, but being able to say it with them in Arabic was like so just like weird for me, because I just never really imagined that I would be in that scenario. And even my dad was saying to me, he was like, wow, you've been to places in Egypt that like I have not gone.
Oh yeah.
So
that's amazing.
Yeah, so that was really nice, and I'm very thankful that I was sort of raised with that instilled in me, so that it feels so central to my identity that I like sort of feel like I can connect with these kids in that way.
And you feel at home over there and at home over here. So that's such a blessing that you don't feel out of place in either. Yeah,
it's really nice.
It's awesome. So as a little ending, can you teach us, you said a couple words in Arabic, but can you teach our listeners a word or two in Arabic or a phrase or something?
So maybe when someone cooks food, you can say at the end, I'm going to assume that it's a female because Arab culture, but you can change it to, I'll teach you the male and female. How about that, feminism? So if a female has like made you food, or brought you tea even. You can say Tislam ideki. So like that's like bless the hands that brought it, and those would be her hands. Ideki, ki would be a female, and if it was a male, you would say Tislam idik, ik being for the male.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Emily, for being a guest,
you.
and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. This was fun.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much for listening to my interview with Emily. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed recording it, and I hope you found it interesting and maybe learned something. If you did enjoy it and you're enjoying this podcast so far, please do share it with someone that you think would enjoy it as well. Also, if you are interested in being a guest, please do contact me. I would love to hear from you, like I said, in an email or on Instagram. And also, if you have anything you want to share, any feedback, positive, negative, I would love to hear it. So contact me by email, contact me on Instagram in a DM or in the comment section. So that's all for today. Thank you all for listening, and I hope to bring you a new episode soon. Take care. Bye-bye.